Welcome to another splashing episode of Talk to the Fish. Now let's plunge into today's viewer question. Fantastic Fun writes, why do I wobble underwater like I've been marinating in rum punch?
Balance issues plague more divers than fish have scales.
Well then, how can you help our viewers steady their fins before they embarrass themselves in front of the entire reef community?
Let's tackle the first major reason divers struggle with balance: the reduced effect of gravity underwater.
You mean when that familiar downward pull suddenly goes on vacation?
It's what I mean. The upward force of buoyancy counteracts gravity's downward pull, which completely changes how we balance.
So instead of standing firmly on solid ground, our viewers find themselves suspended in a three-dimensional space.
The remedy is mastering neutral buoyancy. Proper weighting prevents fighting against being too heavy or too light underwater.
And then comes the magic, making those tiny adjustments with just your breath and occasional small puffs into your BCD. That's when you'll find your sweet spot in the water column.
My practical tip: do buoyancy checks before every dive and practice in shallow water, focusing solely on maintaining a fixed depth using just your breathing.
So it's not about fighting the water, it's about becoming one with it. What's the second balance buster divers face?
Your feet become nearly useless for balance underwater. On land, your feet constantly feed your brain information about position and stability.
But underwater, that feedback vanishes faster than a shy reef fish.
Think about standing with your eyes closed on a soft mattress versus a hard floor. That's the difference in stability reference point.
So your brain keeps searching for that familiar foot feedback but comes up empty. Talk about pulling the rug, or in this case, the seafloor, right out from under you.
The solution? Shift your body awareness upward. Focus on your core and torso positions since your feet can't help anymore.
Brilliant. So instead of thinking feet first, divers need to become masters of subtle core movements.
My tip? Just notice how small head or hip movements underwater really affect your position.
What's the third challenge our wobbly underwater friends face, Regis?
The third major balance disruptor is the constant, subtle movement you experience underwater.
So even when divers think they're staying still, they're actually in motion.
That's right. Even in calm water, you're subject to small external forces, currents, surge, and water displacement from your own movements or your bodies.
Because water is a fluid medium, and we're just floating in it. Your body becomes aware of every tiny, unpredictable movement.
Which means your inner ear and body are constantly detecting small movements that require continuous adjustment.
It's like standing on a steady train compared to one that's constantly lurching.
The solution? Develop a relaxed awareness and practice minimal correction. Don't tense up fighting every tiny movement. Focus on staying streamlined is the best tip.
So instead of resisting the water's natural flow, you want to dance with it. Now, what's the fourth reason divers might feel off balance?
The fourth challenge is visual confusion and lack of fixed reference point underwater.
That's a huge difference from land. Our brains crave those visual cues for orientation.
The underwater environment lacks the static visual information our brains use for orientation on land.
Which means your brain receives confusing signals when trying to match what your eyes see with what your inner ear feels. Talk about mixed messages.
This disconnect between visual cues and physical sensation can even cause vertigo or disorientation.
Your eyes frantically search for something stable to focus on, but can't find it.
The remedy is to actively seek and use available visual references: an ascent line, reef structure, sandy bottom, or even your body.
These become your underwater landmarks. They give your brain something solid to orient itself with.
A tip: when descending or ascending, keep one hand lightly on the line while looking at it. Or pick a distinct feature on the bottom or reef and use it as your visual anchor.
Now for the fifth and final underwater wobble maker. What trips up our diving friends most of all?
The fifth challenge is mastering 3D thinking and buoyancy control, which is particularly difficult for beginners.
So it's not just about staying upright, but managing yourself in all directions simultaneously?
Exactly that. Divers must balance complex interaction between weight, buoyancy, depth, and air volume in three-dimensional space.
Which means beginners feel completely out of control because they haven't mastered those subtle adjustments yet. Like learning to ride a bike. Remember the wobble, the overcorrecting, the brain scrambling to figure it all out?
My remedy and best advice is a dedicated practice.
Yeah, just hit repeat. Before we go, can you give our viewers one final summary on why balance feels so off underwater?
In short, Beginner divers struggle because they lose familiar anchors. Your brain needs just a bit of time to adapt to finding equilibrium in this alien yet wonderful space. Be patient.
Thank you, Regis. Your insights today were more illuminating than a squid at a disco. That's all for today's episode of Talk to the Fish. My fins still get tangled just thinking about balance. My clownfish school report card always said, falls over during swim class. Join us next week when we tackle the mysterious case of why do lionfish swim sometimes upside down? Is it a bold fashion statement or just really bad inner ear infection? You'll have to tune in to find out. Until then, stay neutrally buoyant and keep your regulator where it belongs.
Forget all the troubles and blues. Dive into the blue. Oh yes, talk to the fish.